This is the reason why so many spiritual practices are trying to let go of clinging to language. Like, you can't stop language from bouncing around in your mind. As I said, meditation shows us pretty quickly that we are not the author of most of our thoughts. We're the recipient of them. Like, if you just get that, it can really be a relief. Because so many, especially spiritual practitioners, they feel kind of guilty for the thoughts that come into their mind. You know, I shouldn't be thinking so much. What's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? I don't want to be doing it. It's like, you're not doing it. You're receiving them. You're not creating most of them. You know, and all you got to do is sit down and watch your mind for like a minute. And you'll find all sorts of thoughts coming in there that you didn't create, right? At what point did you think about thinking that maybe you wanted to create the next thought you were going to think? You know, it leads to this endless regression. And when you start to get like, oh, I'm not actually creating most of the thoughts in my head. I'm the recipient of them. I'm not really creating most of the experiences I have. I'm the recipient of those. I didn't even create the spiritual instinct, my yearning or desire. It shows up. I'm the recipient of it. Now, the separate mind could there turn being the recipient into the victim of, but then, of course, that would just be another painful interpretation. But as we start to relax our grasp on all that, because that's, if we have any part to play, the part isn't to play what thought shows up in your head. It's like, what's your relationship with that thought? And the more benign your relationship gets, and that's an important word, right? It's one of those things I would hope that you could feel rather than just hear, like a benign relationship with your own mind. Because so many spiritual people have anything but a benign relationship with their mind. It's like a war zone. But when you start to have a benign relationship, almost like, you poor thing, you just don't know how to stop thinking, do you? You know? Like, you cut it a little slack. And something relaxes as you do that. The more conflictatory your relationship is, the more agitated the mind is. Have you noticed? It's pretty simple. And by opening this relationship up with thought, at some point we start to perceive not through the lens of thought, but directly. A spiritual awakening is a moment where your perception was not molded and distorted by thought. So you weren't looking through the lens, the distorting lens of opinion and belief. And it's just a direct experience. It's just a direct experience of being. And it's unforgettable. And as soon as we do that, then big words like unity and interconnectedness are no longer theory. They're no longer sort of nice spiritual ideas or ideals, but they're actually just simply the way things are. So you've seen last night, for example, when I was just basically guiding attention. Behind people's thinking. So who are you before you refer to a thought to tell you who you are? What are you then? And if we're in sort of a poetic state of being, let's say, maybe a question like that elicits a living experience of being, right? A question like that isn't meant to get a specific answer. Well, this is who I am when I'm not thinking, right? Because that's just another thought. So the answer to these kind of the deep spiritual questions, the answer to them isn't so much getting an answer. It's not like a school test. The answer is something more like the issue is resolved. And the issue is resolved through a direct seeing. And the direct way of seeing is different than an answer. In the same way that a direct experience is different than the description of it. So when we see through, let's say, this whole cognitive network, this whole thinking mind, when we sort of look before it, before a thought, what am I before a thought? It's really asking, what is my direct experience of being before I think about it? What am I before I think about it?